She isn't just a media strategy expert with over 30 years of experience. She consults with companies worldwide to enhance leadership, management, and negotiation skills. She is Vesna Mardonović.
Faleminderit. Jam Vesna Mardonović, por jam Vesna e bija preqit pals maci qekut pe I ulqinit. Por nuk flas pak shqip, si muni me pa, por nuk mund me fol ball me ju, I got lost. I can't tell you enough to do the presentation, but I can chat with you slowly and easily. Yes, I come from Slovenia, but I used to work, I will tell you later a little bit about me, apart from where I come from. But I wanted to ask you a question first. Before we start, the undead media, remember that, because we're going to talk about that. The media that has not died. I know everyone is here for digital, but guys, we all live in the same world. Digital is a little part of it, and there's another little part of it, and so on. So today we're going to talk about how to put all that together. But the first question, anyone would like to have a car like this? No? Nobody? Wow, okay. Anyone? Okay, I didn't hear you. Sorry, I'm probably too loud myself. Now, next question. Anyone would like to have a car like this, where all the glasses are completely black? The lights don't work? Still? No, of course not. Because you can't see where you're going, you can't see what's around you, and definitely you don't see what's in front of you. And this is how we sometimes feel when we try to predict the trends. I will talk about the trends. But you know what? What do I know? I only learn from history. I can't learn from the future. Nobody can learn from the future. But I can have some ideas. But those ideas can be right or wrong. I'm sure you all know this guy. He said that 95% of all marketing jobs will be replaced by AI in March 24. He said that in 2023. Well, we all still stand here, and I'm sure we're not that 5% of remaining people. So he was not exactly right. He was not totally wrong, but not exactly right. Everybody since 2000 on keeps saying TV is dead. TV is not dead, TV is dead. Well, I know for a fact the TV is not dead. And you know it as well, even though you might not want to admit it. But it's a fact. And another one that makes mistakes are the big guys. I understood that Pepsi is a sponsor here. But, you know, shit happens to the best as well. In 2010, the CEO of Pepsi decided to go all digital. They put most of the, not all, most of the budget. They took it away from Super Bowl commercial, which you know it's a huge investment, and put it into influencer. And they had a campaign with no traditional media. Anyone knows what happened? Did it work? No. And not because it was not a good idea, and not because influencers don't work, but because it was extreme. You can try extreme, you can test extreme, but don't put your life on it. Don't put your whole budget on the extreme, because extreme might work or not. It's a little bit like in that blind car. So I mentioned a little bit this already. Are traditional media still working, or are they dead? So in a room full of digital people, put up the hands who believes that traditional media works better than digital. Okay, the same? Okay, worse? Not much, good. Oh, do we have a couple of people? I would love to be proven wrong, but let's not talk about local freezer or someone. Let's talk about bigger brands. And yes, there are some brands which are more fit for digital, but most of the brands are fit for the 360. I'm not going to talk about that. You all know what is the plus of the digital, right? So that would be very boring. you also know what are the minuses. You might not want to admit them or remember them, but there are a lot. But what I'm going to talk about is what is the plus of the TV particularly. Quick mass reach and frequency. So with one spot, unfortunately in Albania, I don't have, and you don't have, the exact standardized data of the viewership and of the ratings and GRPs and so on. But I can tell you from most of the other countries, and you will see later why I think I'm the right person to talk about that. But in most of the countries, developing or developed, you can for sure every day find a show on TV or a slot on TV that will bring you at least 25% reach in your target audience with one spot. That is unbeatable by digital. Quick effect. One day 25, next day another 5, another 3, and so on. So it's really very quick. Emotional impact. Yeah, Alexander was showing us the video, and I admit the first one I got a little bit of tears in my eyes. I would not find that video on digital, on my phone, that emotional. First, because I might not look at it to the end, but secondly, also because I just don't spend so much time watching video on digital. I might not be the right target audience. Let's say we have different target audiences. I'm just talking average here. Credibility and consumer activation. Credibility is still very high on TV, which amazes me because there's so much bullshit on TV, but still a lot of people find it the most credible next to the daily newspapers, which have even more shit. Sorry for using this kind of language. I'm very direct. Then we have brand awareness. We can do that on all the media. So also here. And the local impact, which is also very strong on digital. So I'm not going to touch on that. We also have minuses on TV, of course, high entry cost. You can't, with digital, you can actually invest a couple of €1,000 and you can do something. With TV, you can't. And also the low flexibility. You need to send in the materials. You can't change the materials and so on. But we do have pluses and minuses in one and in the other. So, when to choose traditional media, when digital, when the combination? I don't know, because there is no right answer. It depends on your campaign objectives, on your target group, and on your budget. And now let me tell you why I think I can talk about this reliably and why I'm confident to stand here. Because I've learned from my own mistakes. And where did I do that? In several different companies. I used to work for GlaxoSmithKline, and I still have twice, as you can see, and I still have very high emotions towards this brand. So I went to 2 or 3 supermarkets since I'm here, and I checked how are Parodontax, Aquafresh, and Sensodyne doing on the shelf. I've been a CEO and business director of Omnicom Media Group. This is the agency that I think one agency cooperates with. Did I remember right? So Vilma and Riola are partners here in Albania. And now I moved to completely another way. So I've been at the agency, I've been at the client a couple of times. Now what I do is I help both agencies and clients get best media plans and best ROI on their invested budget. So to do that and to be able to actually convince people, in digital it's very easy, right? You get a click, you know how much you paid to click, you see immediately if there was a direct sale. However, in other media it's a little bit more difficult, but it's so important. And what is important? The channels, the planning, the creative, the money you put in. Let's check. So the most creative, the most influence to the sales in all the media has creative, 49%. So if your creative is shitty, you just lost 49% of your sales in average again. Then 20% is the strength of your brand. Recency, so when did we see your message? 5%. Targeting, 11%, and reach 14%. So we've got approximately 30% directly connected to planning. But that's not all. We know that good planning actually influences the brand. You can't build your brand because 30% or effect is also influencing. So we're close to 40% where good planning sells your products on top of great creative and great message. You take away the good planning and what do you get? You just lost almost 40% of your sales. So yeah, everyone is a good planner, right? I don't know if you have the same saying in Albania, but in Slovenia we say everybody knows everything about marketing, media planning, and football. Is the same saying? Okay, trust me. It might look so, but it's not true. There's hard data to convince you that this is absolutely not true. So even the best plan will fail, the best creative, the best ad, if you don't have the good media plan. So how to work in Albania concretely in an era where digital is so well developed, where you have programmatic buying, generative, omni-channel strategy, everything, but at the same time, you have a labyrinth on other media. You have no standardized research. You think you know, you don't know, because you can't know. I'm sure if I asked any one of you about before how much the good planning influences, you wouldn't know. You would think maybe it's about 10, 15%. That's what I usually get if I have more time and I ask people. So what you need to do, you can do performance media, that's fine. But we mentioned already before, without the traditional media, there's not really enough results. So what you can do, you can use human intelligence and creativity, your own, or if you're really smart, you will use the media agency, a great media agency. This one, I don't know if I can go back. No, I can't. Okay, doesn't matter. The little cat there represents, thank you. The little cat here represents me when I first came in a new market 5 years ago, more like 30, but okay. When I first came to Bosnia, there was zero research. Mind you, digital was also not that well developed, but there was zero research. And as an agency, I had to work for our clients. So what did I do? I stayed in the hotel for 2 weeks. I went to the shop. I bought all the magazines. I spent hours in the shop talking to people, asking, why do you buy this? And I'm new here. I don't know this brand. Can you recommend me? I talked to people. I listened to the radio. So I really tried to understand the market. And all of you know your brands really well, but you can't know the media really well. So I'm a big ambassador of using media agencies. And this is what I'm gonna tell you a little bit about a good media agency, why you need a good media agency. But you know what? You get a good media agency and you're not done yet, because media agency can't do your work. So what do you need to do? You have to put up use of what you know, of the data you have. You have to be transparent with an agency, and you have to hold yourself and the agency accountable. Now, what happens? When was the last time you did a great brief for the agency? Usually, and I worked from Russia, Ukraine, up to Baltic, Mongolia, down to Albania. All these 30 markets were my markets. So I've been in developed countries. I've been in Germany as well. It was not my responsibility, but I worked on a project there. What happened? People write their brief in an email, and then they say, the agency needs to do the job. Doesn't work that way. Do you know GIGO? Garbage in, garbage out. I'm a big believer of GIGO. So if you don't brief the agency well, you don't get good stuff from the agency. And a well-done brief is a brief where they can talk to your potential clients, where they can go with you to the shop, where you actually give them transparently all you have about your brands and about your products and about your goals. And then you hold them accountable, okay? The brief needs to be structured, refined, and not done in a, I don't even know how to explain this, but I'm sure everybody understands it. Yeah? So, now you have a great agency, you have a great brief. Now what do? You pray. You pray that it works, because there is no guarantee, right? In the same way as I mentioned, I started with no guarantee about the future at the beginning, and I can tell you, there's no guarantee. The only thing that the brand can control are the strategy, its partners, and its communication. But definitely not the effects. And definitely you cannot know what's going to happen tomorrow. But you can use all that to have a strong foundation and to embrace the future trends as someone tells them to you, or as you feel them yourselves, or as you have a magician. What was it? Was it the magician? Psychic? Who can tell it to you? So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the future trends. But, it might be a real trend, or it might just be something that I thought of. Important, and this one is a fact. So it's not just something I'm thinking about. 30% of advertisers in Europe in-house the programmatic buying. Not the TV buying, not the rest of the digital, but programmatic. The reason for that is because, unlike in TV, which is not flexible and so on, has other benefits, programmatic needs to be so fast that they've noticed there is a lag between the moment the brand or the team briefs the agency and the moment the results need to happen, right? So it's so fast that it just doesn't happen so quick. So that's what they're doing. Also, it's because of the first-party data. Another thing, which I haven't had the chance, I really apologize, but I haven't had the chance to find out. I Googled a little bit, didn't get enough results, and then I didn't have a chance to talk to any one of you. I'm not sure how good retail media is already working in Albania, but in the other countries, retail media is a big thing. And what is retail media? It's ads using data from a single retailer. So the ads that you see when you go on, what's the supermarket I saw yesterday? Okay, your supermarkets. So what you see the ad on your supermarket, that's the retail media. They use your direct data for when you buy stuff or when you look for the stuff. Commerce media, it's a different thing. It's similar, but it actually uses data by any online seller, not just one individual retailer. AI, I'm not going to talk about that because I'm sure there's other specialists who are really good. I can use it, but I can't tell you how to use it. But I know one thing, there are risks involved as well. So, just make sure to do your homework and you check your risks. Next one is end of third-party cookies. This is also something that I'm not going to go into because it would be too long. And I'm sure that everyone sitting in here can do the same presentation on the end of third-party cookies as I could do. What I'm going to talk a little bit about is the further media fragmentation and the influencers. So the media fragmentation happens all the time, especially on digital, but also on other media, right? In a country of 2 million, Slovenia, we have about 50 radio stations, okay? Now try to reach the market with radio really well and be sort of efficient with the budget you're investing. It's not possible. But even more on digital, and that is difficult. That is why media agencies need your briefs, particularly for this part, because we can't, as an agency, we can't and I'm not the agency now, but I'm thinking at the moment when I was the agency, I had a client coming in selling very specific product. There were about 10 pages, internet pages, that of course I didn't know because I was not a target group for that specific product. So this is something that you need to tell the agency. Another thing which is fragmentation is the influencers. They increase the targeting, they increase the authenticity. They're great. But also they create huge chaos because everybody is an influencer now. And if you need to target your target audience, you need to be very specific who to use. And then there's question whether you can get the reach. So there's a lot of things which are happening with influencers. It will definitely increase the investments, but it will also increase the risks, a little bit like AI. Blending of creative and media buying. I mentioned programmatic already, and I mentioned that you can be very flexible, which means that you can't wait. You can't have a traditional media agency, a creative agency preparing ads, and then you put them online. That is all well, and everybody understands that. The problem happens is with brand safety risk. Because if you delegate to the agency to do your ads, you can't give them such a strong and specific explanation of what your brand stands for to be able to use like that. So you need to be more involved. And that's another reason why programmatic gets to be in-housed. ROI and database planning. Now, this is something that could be very useful in Albania, particularly because you do not have standardized media research. What does it do? It measures how different marketing activities affect the sales and how they help optimize your budget and improve return on investment. So you invested €1 into digital and you know exactly how much you got for most of the time if it was a performance media. However, for all the other activities, sponsorships, TV, radio, other digital, you don't know. And this is what it does. It explains what is the best ROI. It tells you in which brand should you invest, where will you get better return on investment. It tells you what happens. The boss comes and says, sorry, it's November, no more budget. You need to cut 30% of your budget for November and December. What do? First, you panic. Secondly, you start thinking, where am I going to cut? Well, the econometric model tells you exactly where you should cut to have the least effect. And then should you invest in more weeks or should you have stronger weeks? Should you have, 10 spots a day or 5 spots a day, 2 weeks? And then it shows you exactly how each of the activities affected your sales. So this is a very seasonal product. The blue one is this is a real case that we did recently. The blue part is the sales that would happen for a short while, even without any activities, just because the brand is there in the shops. This one was driven by seasonality, and all these others are driven by different media. And we can tell you exactly each euro, when you invest it, how much return did you get? And then, this is again the real thing. This would be the sales that they had if they used media and other activities the way they had them before. And this is what they got, 6% increase in sale. And since the brand had 600,000 turnover, it's a small brand, but still 600,000, and they invested 15,000 into this tool, you can calculate yourself how very happy they are, and we're just doing all the other brands as well. Another thing which is happening is specialized media auditors. That's me. So I'm the person who knows media, who has global understanding, and who knows what you can get from the media, who knows the agencies, and knows what you should ask for when you pitch for the agency, right? So we help you choose the media agency, we help you manage the media agency, and we help you get the best for your investments. And I promise that's maximum of my own advertising, because What you need to do is you need to make sure that the money you're throwing into media is well invested and not just spent. Thank you very much.